Hello, this is Virtualis the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to look at a whole game in detail, but a particular part of an endgame, specifically looking at connected passed pawns and just how powerful they can be. These passed pawns, they ride off to the sunset and basically win this game. Let's go take a look. All right, so we're going to start this game on move 34, right after I capture this knight, and we enter into a king and pawn endgame. We each have 4 pawns, and in this position, it's dead even. So with perfect play, this is a draw. Now, if you want to look at the full game, this was a game of the Ruy Lopez Jaenisch Gambit exchange variation. I had a pretty good lead out of the opening and I kind of sort of stuff up my advantage, and we end up eventually in this very, very balanced and equal endgame. Now, my opponent with the white pieces from this position makes a mistake. So their mistake, which is a blunder, is to push c4. They wanted clearly to immediately attack, and I suspect what they had calculated was that be captures, 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 and then it looks like my king is too far away from that square to prevent the infiltration of their king. I think that's what they were thinking, which is why they made this aggressive push. So their king is relatively more developed than mine. However, it's a blunder. They should have just played c3. And the reason for that is, let's take a look at what happens with the exchange. Captures, 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 king now forward, looking like it's blocking everything that it'll be able to capture. If I push forward, they'll be able to capture. But what happens? Push forward, these are now connected passed pawns. So these 2 pawns have nothing stopping them moving forward. On the other hand, these 2 pawns are still potentially blocked by my pawn on the A file. And in particular, the king cannot actually capture that pawn, because if they take, this pawn now goes forward, and there is no way that the white king can catch up to capture. So that basically will then promote. So this is a really useful pattern to know, because the king cannot capture that pawn while it's defended. At the same time, it dynamically cannot take that pawn either, because it needs to prevent that pawn from promoting. Effectively, that pawn is immortal. It's like I've got an extra defender to that pawn, and so my king can potentially come to this side, well, not to that square at the moment, and it is very, very powerful. So unfortunately for white, that initial push changed the endgame from a draw to now completely winning for me. So how did the moves now move forward? I think white recognized this problem and so tried to block the advance. However, I can now bring my king over, which is what I do. And this king must try to prevent these 2 pawns from moving forward, and it can't prevent these from moving forward and defend their own pawns at the same time. So king moves forward again, so they're stuck. Now I jump forward, I expect him to take, takes, and this king can now no longer defend this pawn and prevent the advance of these pawns simultaneously. So they try to move forward, jump forward, they try to block, and now both of these pawns can move forward. So forward, they try to come back, and now again, connected passed pawns. The king cannot capture this pawn without this moving towards promotion. So again, in that nook, capture, king now moves across, and now final move, my king now goes to this square, and white opted to resign. Why did they resign? Well, the king acts like it has a force field, and it basically defends these 3 squares, which basically means my c pawn cannot now be prevented from moving forward and promoting. King and queen definitely winning. Good game. GG. My big takeaway in this game is knowing some of the king and pawn maneuvers is very important in the endgame. One step can be the difference between a win, draw, or a loss. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.